I'm from Virginia. That's where my dad retired to when he got out of the Army. And I'm a Civil War buff. I've always, even when I was an Army brat traveling around Europe and this country, I loved American history. And when we settled in Virginia, it was just made for me because we lived right near some battlefields. And then I recently sold a house in Virginia that backed up to a battlefield. And so I decided, I loved Robert E. Lee. I wish he had stayed with the Union. So I said, well, I like both sides, Rebels, Federals, Rebfed.
So you're a former canine officer. Tell me about that.
Yes, I spent 27 years working for U.S. Customs. I started out as a clerk in Washington, D.C., because I lived in the suburbs of Virginia. And I worked my way up to what's called the CPO, Customs Patrol Officer. And unfortunately, they did away with the patrol program, which was similar. We were the original Border Patrol in the 1800s. And we patrolled by horseback. Down in San Diego, we patrolled by motorcycle. I never was on a bike. I was on a horse. And then when I was on the Canadian border, I patrolled by snowmobile, snowshoes, and cross-country skis. And I really enjoyed that. And then they did away with the program. I became an inspector. Then I became a canine officer, went back to inspection to further promotions.
And so what was it like to be a canine officer? Did you have one dog that you always worked with or multiple dogs? Or?
Well, you train 2 dogs in Front Royal, Virginia. That's where our canine school is located. So it was really great because while I was there for those 3 months, I was less than 100 miles away from my mom and dad. And you train 2 dogs at a time and you graduate with 1. And then you go out in the field with that dog, and generally the dog is about 2, and then you've got 7 good years out of a dog, but not always. Sometimes we have dogs that get out into the field and just lose it. We've had dogs that, they got out in the field and it's like, oh my God, I can't do this. So we will adopt them out if the handler doesn't want them. My twin sister and her husband are both retired canine supervisors with U.S. Customs.
Yeah, because you're a twin.
Yeah, identical twin. And one time I was TDY, temporary dutied, up to Seattle where Robin and Jim were stationed. And Robin and I both had yellow labs, and we confused the heck out of everybody, even though we wore name tags. But my last name is Zeitlin, which is our maiden name, and hers, of course, is Edmondson, her married name. That didn't stop them. They were just constantly calling us by the wrong names, the supervisors. It was hilarious, and they told us that we would never be allowed to go temporary duty together again because of that.